Well, good evening and welcome to About the Valley and on this, another snowstorm, another one out of the way. Our guest tonight is Senator Mike Moore.
But it's the last day of February.
Yes, thank God. Tomorrow is March 1st,
And when's the first day of spring?
the 21st.
The
First
21st?
full day.
First full day? Okay.
Actually, tomorrow, March 1st, is the first day of the meteorological spring.
Oh, okay.
And that's based on the height of the sun.
I didn't
Because
realize
you know
that.
how the sun
Well, yeah.
works its way up this way now, and we get more direct as it gets higher in the sky.
So then how does the 21st,
Well, 21st is when it actually reaches the
maximum height?
no, maximum height is in June, which it's at the equator.
Okay.
The sun travels between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, and the equator is in the middle. And when it hits the equator that spring, when it hits the equator going the other way,
It's fall.
it's fall.
Okay.
And when it hits the Tropic of Capricorn, that's first day of winter for us, but the first day of summer in the southern hemisphere. When it hits the Tropic of Cancer, which we are in, then it's the first day of summer for us,
Okay.
June 21st, the longest day of the year.
Yeah.
In fact, if you're further north, the further you go north, the less darkness they have. You ever heard of the White Nights?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Russia?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't get dark.
Okay.
Same with Alaska. I
Well,
know
actually,
people.
I remember going to Ireland, and we walked out of a restaurant at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night,
Yeah,
and
daylight.
Still daylight. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're actually further north than us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ireland. Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize we're actually at the same parallel as Spain.
Okay.
But that's why when you fly, if you fly to England, they go north. Of course, it's shorter too, but the reason we have colder weather is the Gulf Stream's further east.
Okay.
So it warms Spain, and England gets a little warmer climate than we get.
Okay.
But we don't get that Gulf Stream.
Okay.
Yeah,
You should be a meteorologist.
I look into everything. I read about everything. I look into everything because I'm so curious. I want to know all. I want to know everything. I want to be the man who knows all.
And share it on your public access show.
Exactly.
There you go.
But yeah, I'll tell you, I'd like to see us do away with daylight savings.
Would you really? Why?
Well, I don't think it's necessary anymore. Even the farmers don't like it
Okay.
because what's going to happen now? We're going to go into daylight savings. I think in March they moved it back.
Okay.
Now it's going to be darker in the morning. Your day will be longer because when you jump ahead, okay, we'll give you an example. Right now, at 6 o'clock in the morning, you get daylight.
Yep.
You jump ahead, it's going to be 7 o'clock before we get that daylight
Okay.
until the sun gets a little higher.
Right.
But, of course, now it's getting dark by 6 o'clock at night. It'll be 7 o'clock before it starts getting dark.
Yeah.
But if you just leave it alone, we'd get used to it.
I agree to get used to it, but how does it affect? I'll just pick out an easy one. Sporting events. When you're watching TV, you watch the Patriots are playing at 4 o'clock Eastern time, but
Yeah.
it's whatever time, Pacific time. How does it, if we go to the same?
Well,
if
I mean,
get
we
rid-
can't do it as a state. You got to do it nationally.
Oh no, well that's what I'm saying. So if you get rid of it, how does
Yeah.
how does that factor in?
Well, it wouldn't be any different, especially with sports, because they got lighting. So they would just, they turn the lights on.
Yeah.
There are places in the United States that don't recognize daylight savings by community.
Oh really?
Yeah. I think in Arizona and New Mexico, there's places here and there, they don't recognize it.
That's something I've never heard.
Yeah, there's a few places here and there that don't go by it, which it's going to be confusing.
Yeah. Well, I would guess if you got one community, say Northbridge, that doesn't recognize it, and then you've got Grafton that does, or
Yeah.
every other community around recognizes it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's gotta be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you got an appointment at 8 o'clock in Grafton, and you live in Northbridge, it might be throwing you off a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's more spread out in those areas out in the west.
Well, there was a task force that was formed, I want to say 2-3 years ago, in the legislature that studied abolishing the times.
Yeah,
So,
the daylight savings.
Daylight savings. So, actually, I really don't remember what they recommended.
I thought they recommended that we do away with it. You know, it goes back to Benjamin Franklin.
But I think, isn't it all geared towards the farmers?
It was, yeah, but
Yeah.
the farmers will tell you now, it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
You know, especially, the dairy farmers, they're gonna milk the cows twice a day regardless. And one of the times usually comes around 4 o'clock in the morning, so it doesn't matter, it's not gonna be light anyway.
Okay.
Well, I think in the summer it would be, because you get pre-dawn light,
Okay. So that's one of the milking times at 4 o'clock in the morning?
yeah. And I think the others are probably around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not sure exactly now. I know it's twice a day.
Okay.
If you don't milk them twice a day, they dry up.
They can't train the cows where you can do it 9 in the
No,
morning?
you gotta do it when it's required. I have to talk to my friend Marty Zerlag. He's the only dairy farmer we got left in town.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not too many left.
Yeah, we got, in Millbury we have one, Pearson's.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Auburn, if they have any.
I don't know if there's any dairy. Well, you do have some farmers. You got the farmer's daughter. He's still farming.
Yeah, yep.
But, you know, we had them all over the place. But see, somebody's
Times
probably going
change.
to tell us about who the farmers are. About milking. If I say something wrong, someone will call and correct me. But,
I guess we're waiting for the call to come through.
Yeah.
So recently, we've had our filing session for bills. There's been between 6,000 to 6,500 bills that have been filed. Oh,
Here we
here's the
go.
phone.
okay, somebody's going to correct me. Watch. Go ahead, Carl. You're on. Well, here you go. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Hi, Barry.
Hey, how you doing?
All right.
Hey, Mike, I'd like to thank you and your staff, everything you do for the district. And
Thank you.
I know you can't be a crystal ball, but I was wondering how do things look for Chapter 70 and Chapter 90 in state aid for the town this year coming? I think last year we got around 18 million. I was just wondering, do you think it'd be about the same or a little bit more?
Well, I'm hoping I'm hoping it will be more.
We're waiting for the budget right now.
Right. The governor released his budget. He did the $20 per pupil. You know, we usually do. We've done 30 to 35. The Chapter 70, I guess that's really going to depend on, that there's the whole Foundation Budget Review Commission.
Right.
Well,
I remember.
Okay. Well, so the governor actually proposed some funding relative to an implementation of that. So we really have to see what we have to see what the House is going to come out and recommend now, and then from there we'll base ours. But I did get some budget news yesterday, which wasn't all that great. We were told that the benchmark revenues for the year, we're down between $200 and $300 million.
Whoa.
So that
Last year they were up, right?
Yeah, well, we finished the year with $1 billion.
Yeah.
So that obviously was eaten up by a lot of different spending that we had put that we're looking to cover costs for. But again, my understanding that the area of reduction or revenues that are coming in below expectations really have to surround capital gains, and it's relative. They didn't explain it to fully yesterday, but it's relative to the tax changes that the federal government made. So what our biggest months were December and January are usually the highest tax revenue months. What DOR is telling us is that now should be March or April. So
Yeah, you have to wait till people file.
So the key thing now is going to be seeing how March or if March or April can make up the losses.
Right, right.
But there's no right now. There's no 9C cuts because the capital gains goes to pay. We use that and we put money into the rainy day fund.
Right.
So it's not actually the money is not actually funding line items to Chapter 70 or UGGA or other specific funding line items. So as long as that stays, we're all set. If the revenues continue to drop, then we could have some issues.
Now I know this. Now I know the state made some a lot of projections on the casino revenues. Do you think that those projections will hold true, or do you think any of that would the casino revenues offset any of the loss that you're talking about?
Well, but that's already built into the budget.
Oh, okay.
So I'd have to. I don't hold me to it, but I thought we built in like $86 million to the. That was either casino revenue or that was either marijuana. I can find out. I can get that for you, but I'm pretty sure it's $86 million that we had built into that. So, hopefully that's going to come back stronger than
right.
Than we anticipated.
Well, you only got 2 casinos operating, right?
Right.
And one's not really a full casino in Plainfield.
Well, we got Plainfield.
Which is not a real.
MGM is up and running.
And then MGM.
And I'm not sure. I think Wynn's coming on board sometime this year.
Yeah, they're moving right along. I know that.
Yeah. So, and I don't know where I'm very curious where we are with the marijuana as far as are we exceeding projections for that, or is that coming in below?
Well, here again, now it's how fast they get them open.
Right.
And the process is not that fast. It takes quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, I was approached last night by someone who got a verbal approval for their dispensary in Lakeville.
Oh.
But they haven't actually gotten the written one, the written approval.
So it takes a little longer.
Well, they're waiting for that to come so they can actually
open up
and start selling to their retail outlet.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but right now, so long story short, over the next month and a half, we're gonna have to continue to watch the revenues to see if we're meeting benchmarks. Obviously, if we start going below benchmarks, that might cause us to have to revise what we're gonna look to do in the budget. But hopefully, Chapter 70 won't be. I should say, the last time we had the Great Recession, Chapter 70, UGGA, and veterans funding were the only 3 that were never cut.
Okay. So being cautiously optimistic, the town can pretty much count on at least the level funding from the state, on those aid, and then being a little bit cautiously optimistic, a little bit more for the schools.
I would hope so. The only thing that you have to worry about is your student enrollment numbers. Did they go down?
Yeah.
And also, this new formula has other factors that you have to look like. ELL. If you have first-time English learners, you get a higher formula. You get a higher reimbursement for that. So there are certain factors that factor into the new formula that I'd have to see whether Northridge if they apply to Northridge or not.
Right.
But I would imagine that unless you had a big drop in your student enrollment, I would imagine you'd be pretty close to what you had last year.
Right.
Now, lastly, I don't know how it's going to shake out, but the town might be doing something to LaSalle Field, or they might not. But if they do something, do you think it would be possible, to have an open discussion to see if there's any state aid or state grants or anything like a special state budget line item to help the town
Let me
not
fill
pay
the
for the
senator in.
improvements to LaSalle Field?
Let me fill the senator
if we
in.
do something.
Barry, LaSalle Field is next to the middle school, which was formerly the high school.
Yeah.
It's where the football games are, soccer, a lot of sports events.
Yep.
The field is in deplorable condition. The grass is worn out. They fixed it about 10 years ago, I believe, or I don't know, somewhere in there. It doesn't stand up. So a group of people have gotten together and call themselves Friends of LaSalle Field.
Okay.
And they want to do artificial turf.
Right,
Well,
but I don't know if that's going to be
new
the ultimate
grandstands.
thing.
Okay.
And it comes up to about $1 million, 1.5, I believe.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit more than Harry's, close to.
Or maybe it's
close to 3
1.7.
million.
Maybe 1.7. I can't remember the exact number.
Yeah, I thought it was close to 3 million because it would be an additional close to a $600 hit to the taxpayers.
No, I know it's 3 million. I was hearing 1 point something.
No, at 2.7. That's what I've been hearing.
Well, they want to do a debt exclusion
Right.
for 1 year. We already got coming up the new school,
Right.
which is
Yeah, we got a lot on the taxpayers' plate.
We also have the CPA tax. You familiar with that?
Well, the CPA, I would ask, that may be something you can look at. Can the CPA
Right.
be used
To fund it,
to
yeah,
fund
you
it?
could.
Right.
But that doesn't start until next tax, so that's 2%. They want to do it now.
Not unless they take a little bit out of stabilization, Harry.
Well, they could do that and then replace it, I guess.
Till the
I don't know. I don't know what
Community
the,
Preservation Act
So
money comes in, or
do you
the
have
cannabis
all
money
the,
comes in.
do you have all the architectural drawings and engineering?
Well, I don't know what
yeah, they did.
they're at yet, but I think it's a lot of it's still in discussion because a lot of taxpayers are hoping for. It seems like right now all we're getting is the Cadillac version plan, and a lot of taxpayers want to see a mid-size and an economy-size version. So I don't know. Like I said, I think it's still everything's still kind of fluid. But I was just thinking, worst case, if it is up against a wall and if it is approved, would you be open to seeing if the state could do anything for the town? I know you do a lot for Milford and and Upton.
I would
just wondering
gladly
if
try.
that would be possible.
I would gladly try, but in all honesty, the state hasn't been very good in funding athletic fields.
Mm-hmm.
We have the MSBA program for the schools. And actually, I just became chairman of the committee Senate chairman on bonding. So one thing we're looking at, that I was talking about today, is maybe trying to see if we can develop some sort of program similar to MSBA for public safety buildings.
Oh,
That's something else we have to look at. We need a fire station.
So, but to do that, you have to have a revenue source.
Right.
So, I don't know where, we could try to get if there's a bond bill coming, we could try to get it in the bond bill.
Right.
But then, getting in the bond bill is only one piece. Then you've got to get the administration to actually say, okay, it's something that we will fund.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, look, I'll gladly try. I'll do whatever I can to try. But I can be totally honest with you. The athletic fields are not something that I usually.
There's not a lot of grants out there for athletic field.
Right.
Actually, the CPA is usually a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
right.
I'm on that committee.
Right. So, yeah, you potentially have the CPA and this cannabis money coming in, Harry.
Right, but what I'm saying is it comes in, but it's not going to come in overnight.
Right. No, that's why I'm saying maybe they could tap into some of the reserves for a little bit until that money comes in.
Right, I don't know.
worst
I don't know
case.
what that be a question for the town manager, because I don't
Right.
know what the legalities are there. If you can do that, if
What's the CPA, the cannabis money, Barry? Is that from the 3%, or is that from the host fee, or where's it?
Right.
well,
I
combine
guess
the host fee and
the town has cemented one deal already with with one cannabis place.
yeah, but we're not going to get any money until they start selling it,
No. That's
and that could be over a year away or 2
right.
years
That's
away.
why, like I said, if worst case, if the town could tap it a little bit into the stabilizations, and until that money comes in from the cannabis and the Community Preservation Act, because like I said, the taxpayers are getting hit with the new school, the CPA, and also due to the state underfunding the school budget, for the first time, parents are paying for student activity fees and transportation fees on top of this increase.
What's
There's a
schools,
lot on the taxpayers' plate.
Barry, what
So
school?
that's why I'm just trying to think of some other ways, innovative ways to get this thing funded if whatever the taxpayers agree on.
What school's getting done? I think I was just
Well,
at the.
well, they're replacing the Barmouth
elementary.
School and
Okay, that's what it
NES
was.
School.
Okay. Could the athletic field be put into the MSBA funding?
I don't know.
Well, no,
There's
there's an athletic field there
brought that up, but I
already.
don't know where exactly that suggestion has gone.
Because I know if it was actually at the location of the school,
Right.
I'm almost positive you can put it in there.
Yeah,
No,
you
it's
can.
a little bit of ways.
Right. I guess that's.
But, yeah, it's actually the former high school, and when they built the new high school, yeah, you have to have fields, you have to have, they put it on this high plateau where you have to walk up 2.5 miles of stairway, I guess.
Right.
I've never been up
They
there.
said it's on,
And they only did
field's
that
not
because,
accessible.
the only reason they did that was because they had to have an athletic field,
Right.
but it's a lousy one.
So is LaSalle Field is owned by the school department?
Yes.
It's owned by the town, but it's maintained by the school department. So so we have two types of ownership. The town owns it, but it's maintained by the school. So it's kind
Well,
of
the town owns everything.
unique partnership.
Yeah, the town owns everything, the
Yeah,
school
but
manages it. There is a history there.
Mhm.
Prior to I'm gonna say probably 73 or 74, there was a LaSalle Commission,
Oh,
yes, and they ran that field, not the school. And the LaSalle Commission, it's named after a man named LaSalle who died in war,
Okay.
right.
was related to the White.
It was in World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the field was constructed by the Whitens in memory of them.
Okay.
And that's why it was managed by a commission. I was on a study group back in the very early 70s when we said that it would be better to turn it over to the school department because the LaSalle Commission had no money.
Mhm.
And so, couldn't get any grants or anything like that, wasn't available, but it was for the school. So that's why we turned it over to the school, but it kept the name.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know of any grants that are available.
Now, let me throw this thought out. Say the new school's going to have 3 or 4 athletic fields. Could the town say we're going to do 2 fields at the new school, and then the money that they were going to do for the 3rd field, use that for that field, or
Well, that would-
or is that all?
That would be up to the
Or is there no
board.
negotiating once the MSBA sets the plan?
That's up to the MSBA. You have to
Yes.
submit your plans to them.
Yeah,
And they
MSBA has
would
to
approve
approve that. Yeah.
Okay, so
Now, the question I have for
so
you.
that's a possibility.
Well, I don't think it is
I
now
don't-
because
I
their
don't
plan's
know.
already been submitted.
Oh,
The question I have is you were talking about accessing the marijuana money, the cannabis money.
right.
We've got, the industry has brought an issue, and I think they've gone to court, or they're contemplating going to court, is the host fee is supposed to be tied into covering costs related to
The operation.
the operation of the
Yep.
cannabis facility in your community.
Yeah,
So-
in other words, traffic,
Traffic, police,
Police.
to apply that to an athletic field, I don't know if that would be in compliance with that, or, so there might be an issue with that too.
Right, or would it all be in what the agreement that the town in the facility has? Because I think in this last agreement, they said that they could spend it on anything.
Well, I think you have to look at the agreement, but the industry has been protesting that the statute that was passed regarding the host agreement stipulates that the host agreement, funding relative to host agreement is supposed to be related to costs due to the cannabis. And they're arguing that a lot of communities in the host agreement are seeking funding for projects or different things that are outside the operation of the cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So-
well, they're trying to use it as a lever. You want to come into my town, pay me.
Right.
Right. Well,
And
I
that's
mean,
not legal, that isn't legit, that's not a good thing to do, that's
I
not
mean,
fair.
people smoking cannabis might need a place to walk healthy. You know, but
like we were saying, there's always a
so we know
justification for it.
that can be used.
Yeah. 'Cause I know in Millbury, one thing that they were trying to do is they were trying to take the money, they're gonna have one coming. They passed the town meeting, they were creating a capital infrastructure or an infrastructure account that the money from the shop there would be used for helping repair the roads. And there's an issue now with that. There's been an issue
Right.
with that may not fall within the guidelines of the law.
That's what you
Right,
can do with the
right.
CPA.
But,
The Community Preservation Act?
Yeah.
Well, you can, yeah,
You can use it for infrastructure, you can use it for buildings,
recreational.
recreation.
right, recreation.
Yeah,
And that's, I believe it's 2%.
Right.
And then you got, I think the state is matching at 40% now.
yeah,
Right.
it started off at 75%,
Yeah,
I
but it's
think.
gone down
It's got-
because so many towns-
communities now
yeah.
are doing
And
it,
it's
yeah.
probably gonna go lower, because the more community come in.
Well,
the-
and this is, well, this is where some additional funding can come in. Senator Cream from,
Like I said, I think the town has between 4 to 5 million in reserves, Harry, and maybe, like I said, that they could use that as a bridge until that other money comes in.
Well, see, that's
Or what
something that,
if the town does decide to go with this upgrade or whatever they decide to work out.
that's something that should be discussed with the selectmen and town accountant and the town manager,
Right, right.
because
Well,
you're gonna be
hopefully
careful
some
on,
of them are listening tonight.
well, you gotta be careful on your reserves too, because if something tragic happens, you don't wanna dry up your funds.
Right, right. I don't.
So you say you're
know.
talking your free cash?
You know,
Well, no,
they
your
shouldn't be able to-
stabilization
I
money?
mean, it should be enough
Stabilization
that
money.
they can
Yeah, you gotta be
take a little
careful
bit
with
out.
that.
Or there might be some other innovative ways that things they can come up with.
Yeah,
Yeah, you gotta be, one thing you gotta worry about, you don't want your bonding, your bond rating
right,
affected.
yeah.
Right.
Because then that can affect what you get for interest on anything you borrow.
Yeah, you start tapping into stabilization fund, it can affect your bonding.
Right.
But see, there's something to look at too. If they do it by bonding, what type of loan you can get, what type of bond you can pick up, stretch it out,
Hmm.
and then maybe the money will start generating enough to make the payments.
Right. Plus,
I mean, there's
I
other
don't
things
know
to
if we
look
got the interest rate yet on the 30-year bond for the school, Harry.
I don't know what the interest rate, it wasn't that bad.
Well,
but
they were hoping they were going to get 4.5%. I don't know if they got that.
That wasn't discussed when you did the vote at town meeting? For the
Right.
Yeah, but, well, but they didn't have a set amount.
It wasn't official. That was just
An estimate?
a cautiously optimistic estimate.
Okay.
Actually, though, the word out in the financial community is interest rates are gonna start going down again, because the Fed is looking at actually lowering again.
Oh, that'd be good. Then
Because,
if
well,
that
things started,
happens.
it started hurting a lot of people and a lot of businesses when they started raising the rates, as well as the
Right.
market, of course. So now they're talking, well, maybe we went too far, now we're gonna start going the other way.
Right, right.
But God, I mean, these interest rates, we're old enough to remember when they were a lot higher.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Remember when President Carter was in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
was
mean,
gonna say, my first place I bought it, we had between 11 and 12%.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was considered a bargain.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I
Well-
never thought the day would come we'd get down to, single digit.
Well, I want to thank you for entertaining my questions, and you guys stay safe and stay well, and thank you, and again, thank you for everything you do for your district, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Barry. Yeah, Barry's quite informed of what's going on. It is a problem for the town. I really don't know how we're gonna handle it, because, we take it on a big nut with that school. I mean, you're talking a lot of money, $60 million, I think. I mean, we're getting good funding from the state as well, and it is necessary. And it is gonna we're replacing 2 schools with 1.
Okay.
So a Cross Street School, which is a primary school, and then the Balmer School, which is an elementary
How
school.
many students do you lose to the Whitensville Christian School?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but it's a good number. But actually, that helps the town, because we don't get the funding because we don't have the student. But then again, we're not paying for them.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you're talking $20 per student,
Yeah.
it's a lot more than $20 per student cost.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
it,
Yeah, so in going along with what Barry had said about the Chapter 70, The goal everyone was looking at was, I think, trying to implement the increase based on the Foundation Budget Review Commission, the formula that they had recommended, I want to say 4 years ago. But now with the revenues, if they are going to continue to come in slow, it's going to have to be watching that.
Yeah.
The good thing about it, the revenue forecasts that were made in December, we have non-partisan groups come in, and they'll make what they project as being the revenue forecast, and they're pretty conservative. So
Yeah.
they don't go to the far end, risking a high number.
Yeah, so you end up,
So-
you come out a little better than what
Right,
you
so-
project.
So, and right now, so we're basing that on what they're telling us. Hopefully, even if there is this little slowdown, and all the economists have said that 2019 into 2020 to expect just a normal course cycle of the way the economy goes.
Yeah.
To expect some sort of slowdown, either the end of this year or sometime into 2020.
Well, see, that's why the
2020.
feds are talking lowering rates again to try and ease that slowdown.
Well, they can easily. The other thing you have too now is that for housing, we've been trying to address housing.
Yeah.
And there's no inventory.
No, I know, that's why housing is going so high.
Yeah.
It's, it's supply and demand, and you're right, there is no inventory around.
So
But here again, we're pretty well saturated in this state. Northbridge is at quite a build out already. How much more can you do? Go ahead, caller.
Oh, hello, Harry. I was on your show some time ago. We were talking about the Massachusetts Liberty Bell.
Yes.
I'm the one who was the
You familiar
presenters
with that?
of this bill that we're working on.
Warren.
One of the presenters is Senator Moore, Michael Moore, and the other, it's a joint thing, David Moradian, representative of Massachusetts.
Senator Moore's right here, he's going to answer you.
I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about how we've progressed so far on the Liberty Bell that was on Massachusetts.
Well, first of all, Warren should be thanked and commended for actually bringing this issue to our attention. Prior to him notifying our office, I had no idea that we even had a Liberty Bell.
He's been working quite hard at
Yeah,
this.
no, he has. And we brought him to the State House, and he was honored there for his work.
Yeah.
Right now, as you know, the bill hasn't progressed, but the initiative to restore it and move it, everyone's still on board with that. It's just part of the. I have to go back into the timeline, but it's just part of the renovations that are going to be done to the whole State House. So if you call my office tomorrow, or give me a call, we can try to get you the timeline, hopefully.
We've been. I'm really proud that we have this legislative process, and I really believe that's the best way to go, and I'd really recommend that people do this, and it's quite a thing to do, and to have a bill come up like we have this particular. It's been refiled, and we do have the number. We got back the 1776 number for the bill. And I really thank you and Representative David Moradian. And there's so many people involved on this, and hoping to get 2019 that we're going to get this bell relocated to a different place.
Yeah, what really complicated the matter was with all the renovations going on at the State House. They made it. The planning was to make it part of all the renovations that were being conducted.
Right.
That's the best way to go. And it seems to me because of all this upgrading, they're going to include it in the
Yes.
upgrading. A certain portion of the money is going to be used for the bell to relocate it.
Yep.
Well,
That's in the process right now. So I don't know if many people know that you and Senator David Moradian have been working on this for quite a while, and it's really
2 years now, 3 years?
I bet it's 3
now.
years.
Yeah. Yeah, 3.
We just ran out of time when the last time. See, each bill, when you go to have this legislative process, it only runs for like 2 years, and then and if it hasn't been completed, you have to refile it again.
Yeah, it is,
Well-
and as I was saying a little earlier, there's 6,000 to 6,500 bills filed this session.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think I think when you look at all those numbers, but I think it's a good thing for Massachusetts, and I believe we're going to get something done this year.
Well,
I hope so.
if it's in the renovation plans, you shouldn't have to file a bill, right?
Well, that's part of the argument that we're getting from DCAM, or I shouldn't say DCAM, the project managers, is that it's going to be done, so the bill
Right.
doesn't need to be done.
You understand that, Warren?
Yeah, I always thought of it that that maybe we shouldn't have never had a bill because the bell was always there in 1950.
Yeah, but you know, Warren, sometimes this comes with experience. When I first got elected, I thought you had to have a bill for everything, to get anything done in state government. But a lot of times, having the bill filed gives you the leverage to push it outside of the legislative process. Because they don't want to be mandated by that.
Right.
The
You get it done
legislation.
administratively.
So, right, they do it administratively, which gives them more flexibility on timetables, because if
Right.
they run into, say they run into an issue during the renovation and they can't meet a timetable, at least this way there's more flexibility with it.
Right.
So I think that it's going to happen because it's not going to cost whatever the governor already appropriated the money
Right,
for the upgrades, and he included the bell to be it's in there, and to be the money, part of that money that he was talking about upgrades, a certain amount of that money is going to be used to relocate the bell. So it just happens that the bell is going to be moved to Ashburton Park, but they ran into a problem out there, and that's where the whole hang up on that right now. So I'm hoping. I thank you for all the work you've done.
no, it's my pleasure. Again, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Hey, well, just hoping we can get it done this year in 2019.
It would be nice.
Would be.
All right. Thank you, Warren. Okay. Yeah,
he's
things
done
move
a lot of
slow
work, yeah.
Things move slow sometimes. I read this article once about a story. Richard Nixon was president, and there was a street sign, highway sign that was something was wrong with it, and he noticed it. So he called the Secretary Transportation, and he had left office, and it still hadn't got fixed because it went into the bureaucracy, and it goes down and down and down and down.
I mean, when you actually get into this, you get surprised how big the bureaucracy is.
Right.
I mean, we got an issue with Blackstone Valley Tech. They used to have a sign on 495.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, DOT took it down. We've been trying to get DOT. We got McGovern's office involved. We're trying to get them to put the sign back up there, but they're telling us the Federal Highway Administration,
They don't want to allow it?
they don't want to, they changed that's why they took it down, because they got strict with what type of sign could go up.
Really?
Yeah, so they're blaming the feds, so we're going, and it's a simple sign for
I remember seeing it.
vocational
Yeah,
school.
over by the Hoppington exit.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, what's the big deal?
and that's where you think, it's a sign.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's promoting a private entity, it's promoting a
Right.
public,
I mean, we put them up there to show where gas stations, hotels, motel, restaurants.
but they charge them for that.
Oh, they do? I didn't know that.
I think they do charge them,
Oh.
yeah.
But it's convenient to the driver. If you're from out of state and you don't know the area, you need gas. It'd be nice to have a sign saying, hey, if you exit here, you'll get gas.
Yeah, oh, no, it is. Except that one, we just had this happen last week. We were down, went to Connecticut to look at a college with my daughter.
Yeah.
You know how you'll see the sign for gas or coffee and you get
Yeah.
off the exit? and then you end up driving 10 miles.
Oh, I know.
You're like,
I know when you get
why,
off.
Right, why put the sign up there?
Connecticut's bad like that.
Well, that's where it was. We were in Connecticut.
Oh, they're terrible for that.
Yeah.
And when you get off, sometimes you don't, do I go left or I go right?
And actually, that's when we got to the intersection. We couldn't see which way, either one.
Yeah.
So we put one direction, and we just drove and drove.
It's like going to Foxwood. You gotta drive down a secondary road for how many miles?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true, yeah.
Yeah, they're ridiculous down there.
Yeah, I went to Foxwoods for the first time, the last summer or the summer before that. And, yeah, I couldn't ever, I'm driving along, I'm like, when am I gonna hit this place?
Yeah, you're driving through all these little towns.
Yeah.
And you wonder, where the hell am I? Of course, at least if you go to the other one, if you go to the other casino, I forget the name of it now,
Mohegan Sun.
Mohegan Sun, that one you more or less get right off the highway.
Yeah.
But yeah, they kind of built it out in the middle of nowhere, but I guess that's where the Pequot own the land.
Yeah, and you know, in theory, it was bringing some sort of economic development to the area.
Right.
So,
But yeah, those signs are handy though.
oh yeah, no, and,
If you, I mean, you're on the Mass Pike, obviously they have rest stops.
Yep.
But on the interstates, you don't have that. There's no highway, there's no facilities right on the highway.
and I think most people think that when you're in whatever state you're in, that it's controlled by the state.
No,
It is to a certain degree,
Right.
as far as but the feds they'll give the regulations, and then the state has to administer them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so we're still trying to battle this out for
They never give you any money without having something tied to it.
well, that's how they reel you in.
Yeah,
actually.
right, exactly.
You know, well, just like the seatbelt law. The voters in Massachusetts voted it down several times.
Yep.
I think it was 2 times, but and this was, I think in the 80s or 90s.
90s.
90s?
It was one in the 80s, I'll tell you what that
But it got
was.
voted down twice in referendums, and then finally on the third time, the legislature passed it back then.
Yep.
And it really had to do with, I think, if I remember correctly, the feds tied federal highway dollars into
Yeah.
having something to do with the seatbelt law.
In the 80s, the Reagan administration said, you got to raise the drinking age to 21 across the country, or they're going to take your highway funds away. And that's why, if you remember back then, we actually had, the drinking age went down to 18.
Yeah.
For many, many years, was 18 in New York, 21 in Mass. So you had the exodus of 18-year-olds to New York on weekends. But then the Reagan administration said, look, if that's what's happening, some states are 21, some states are 18, some states are 19, and it's a problem because kids will run out of state to drink, come back, inebriated.
Yep.
So they said, if you want highway funds, you've got to be consistent, and everybody had to go to 21.
I didn't realize that they tied that into that.
Oh, I remember that because I was tending bar back then. When Massachusetts was under Michael Dukakis, Massachusetts lowered it to 18. And believe me, for bartenders, that was a problem because 18-year-old, it's hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was, and I understand the idea behind it. I mean, you can serve in combat at 18.
Yeah.
I was in the Army at 18, couldn't drink off base.
And that's part of when we just did the public health bill last year.
Yeah.
With the smoking.
Yeah.
And I'll throw marijuana in it right now.
21, right?
21.
Yeah.
And I have first I didn't support the marijuana, but it passed, so I'm going to support the proper implementation of it.
Yep.
People want it, so we're going to do it. But having said that, at 18, you can go overseas. At 16, you can go overseas and fight.
Yeah.
They give you a firearm, and you can sacrifice yourself for the country. At 16, you can get a driver's license.
Yeah.
We will give you a gun at 15 or 16 if you're with someone to go hunting.
Yeah.
But we're saying you're not mature enough to.
We let you vote at 18.
We'll let you vote at 18, but you're not mature enough or able to make that decision whether you're going to smoke a cigarette or
Drink booze.
yeah, or what do they call it, a joint now, or
A joint, whatever.
a
Yeah,
cigarette,
marijuana.
Yeah, marijuana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just smoking it, you know, so take it in,
Consume, yeah, inedible.
consume it, you
Yeah.
consume it, yeah, edibles.
Yeah, so,
You know, I was in Europe, there was no drinking age in Europe, but there's never been, so it was not a problem because kids grew up with it.
yeah.
I mean, 8 and 9-year-olds drink beer at a meal because the water's not that great.
Is that one?
That's how it used to be. Well, you got bottled water now, but most of their water is polluted, so not too many people drink it.
Oh, that's, I didn't realize that.
Years ago, I'm talking, this goes back to medieval age.
Okay,
When the Pilgrims came here, they drank beer. And the kids drank beer. Everybody drank beer.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't drink the water in Europe because they had polluted it. So, you know, over the years, they emptied their sewer, went into the rivers. So people drank beer and they drank wine.
actually, I just talk about that. I'm actually, when did we first come up with an age limit for alcohol?
I believe after Prohibition.
So before Prohibition, there was no age.
It probably was. I think it was just what parents decided.
Okay.
I know prior to Prohibition, a lot of places, you would take a bucket and go down to a local bar and get your beer.
Okay.
That's the song, My Bucket's Got a Hole in It. Can't buy no beer.
I've never heard that one.
A Hank Williams song.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And and they would send the kid down to the local bar with 25 cents or 10 cents and, hey, fill up my bucket and bring it home to Dad so he could have beer with his meal.
And by the time we got home, there'd be nothing in it?
Right? Well, the kids would obey because they'd probably get a backhand across their head. But, yeah. And so I think it was after Prohibition that with Prohibition, a lot of laws came in at the end of Prohibition
Okay.
because they wanted to regulate it. They couldn't stop it. They found that didn't work. Prohibition didn't work, obviously.
Yep.
So now it's at least regulated. You had a lot of towns that wouldn't issue alcohol licenses. A lot of dry towns after Prohibition.
Well, are there any dry towns in Mass now?
Not anymore. I think the last one changed not too long ago. I can't remember what town it was, but the one that just recently started authorizing the sale of alcohol.
I know there's one that I went to that if, like, you go to a restaurant,
Right.
you have to have it at the bar. You can't say there's tables away from it in the lounge.
You
You
can't.
can't, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They had a lot of strange things that came out of it.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that happened in Prohibition is the only place you could buy alcohol. You could still buy alcohol. It had to be at a drugstore because you could get a prescription for alcohol. And I actually have a bottle of Four Roses whiskey, and it says right on the bottle, for medicinal purposes.
As a painkiller?
Well, if you were an alcoholic, you were sick,
Yeah.
and the doctor could give you, like they do now. If they're talking now legalizing in Cambridge, people be able to inject drugs under supervision. So this is a similar concept.
Yeah, they have those in Canada. They have some of those safe
Yeah,
injection
Montreal,
sites.
I think, has.
Oh, I know Vancouver does.
Vancouver, yeah, I know it's in
Yep.
Canada.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was what they did during Prohibition because when you shut it off, if someone's an alcoholic, you got a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they actually used to take rubbing alcohol and a loaf of bread and screen it through the bread to try and get the impurities out of the rubbing alcohol.
Really?
Yeah,
And then they drink the alcohol?
yeah. These are stories I got from my parents on what it was like in Prohibition. Of course, you had the speakeasies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But people found a way of getting it. They made their own. Of course, you had the bathtub gin, and how pure was that? That's why, in a way, with the marijuana in the same way, at least you're going to get clean stuff that is not going to have impurities or something that you don't want in it.
Well, yeah, but I guess the problem is that you're gonna have, I think, someone was just telling me one of those, the joints of the cigarettes
Yeah,
cost like $15.
I know, 15 to 20 bucks.
So,
Pretty expensive smoke.
yeah, I think you can probably buy a whole bunch of seeds for $15 and grow your own.
Well, that's the thing.
Right.
But they're growing their own, it's not being checked, but at least, then again, if you use the wrong type of fertilizer, I imagine, that stuff gets into a plant.
Yeah. Well, when I went to Colorado to study it with a group of legislators, they told us that there's over 2,000 chemicals that are used in the growing of marijuana.
There's over 2,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the Department of Agriculture actually, they were looking for a doubling of their budget for the oversight of the whole industry.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, there are people growing on their own now anyway.
Yeah.
But here again, I don't think there's anything that government can ban, because you're always going to have a black market out there. People will find a way.
They will.
Yep, they
Yeah.
want it, they're going to find it.
But maybe the data will show that these safe injection sites are the way to go, but I mean,
I think if you do,
are we going to start allowing heroin,
Oh.
cocaine? I mean, it's got to stop.
I think
there's got to be a line somewhere.
do you have to you mandate that they have to have a program to get off?
Yeah.
And if you do that, are they going to show up? You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm not going to go there because they're going to make me go into a program.
Well, Ian, once you're addicted, then it's hard to get off.
Oh yeah,
It's really the education beforehand.
yeah, yeah. I mean, really, it's a tough situation.
Yeah.
I mean, the opioids became a problem because doctors start them on it.
Yeah.
And they say, this ain't bad. I'm having a good time with this, and then, you can't get the prescription anymore. Well, we can buy it on the market. It's out there.
Well, that's what we did. When we did the first opiate bill, we had the prescription monitoring program in the bill.
Right.
And it was the medical industry wanted it to be a voluntary, where before a doctor would prescribe it, he could, if he wanted to go to the database to see if you prescribed it, he could. Well, obviously that didn't work out. So
Well,
the
I mean,
second
why
version,
bother?
right? Second version, we made it mandatory.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you have to. I mean, why
Yeah.
bother if you could? Yeah, because a lot of doctors are going to say, yeah, heck with that.
Yeah.
And then, with any industry, you got people who do anything to make a buck, and they'll just say, hey, come on in, I'll write you a script.
the thing is now, it took a long time getting to where we are. It's going to take a long time
Yeah,
to overcome it. Hopefully, we won't see too many more deaths from it, but
hopefully we get people educated enough.
yeah, I get concerned with the marijuana. Is that a gateway? There's no evidence to say that it is a gateway drug.
No.
Then they said there's no evidence to say it isn't. So then you have some people talk to. They say it's a step down, that people who are addicted to opiate-based.
Yeah, they could go with the
can go with the
marijuana and
marijuana,
get their
so-
results there, and it's not as bad.
So
And then we don't know what long-term smoking of marijuana is going to do because there's no statistics on it.
well, that's the thing that I argued when the referendum was passing, that we spend so many millions of dollars trying to fight smoking of
Yeah.
tobacco.
Right.
And here we are legalizing
Yeah.
another smokable product that,
And we have no way of knowing because how do you get statistics on marijuana smokers? No one's going to go around telling you.
no.
Now we'll probably get that.
Well, Ian, too, I don't know what's the method of consumption. Is it a higher method of edibles now, or is it smoking?
Yeah, we got to go. We got to wrap it up. I was waiting, hit the 5. We got another show coming on. Okay. Hey, thanks for coming in,
My
Senator.
pleasure. Thank you.
He'll be on my show Sunday at 3 p.m. on WCRN, and we'll see you next week on About the Valley.